amateurlustrareporting.org, and I'm here with a chap that I've spoke to before, but not for a while. It's the big iNcontroL. First of all, I just want to say I think what you've been doing recently has been really good.
Thank you.
It's been great to see you, from where we talked at Home Story Cup, kind of coming more into your own as a personality and a caster. With that in mind, first question, how have you been finding it? Because it's a different set of pressures, it's a different set of responsibilities.
It's definitely uncomfortable. It's something where, I've always been kind of vocalized, and I've always been listened to, so as a pure player, a lot of my speech was, this is where my heart is, this is exactly what I want to be doing, I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can at that, and none of it was a lie, it was all true. Yeah. But when you take a shift and you start saying, well, no, it's not exactly what I'm going to be doing, it's not the only thing I'm going to be doing, my identity changes, and for a lot of people that's jarring, and it's traumatizing. So they looked at a person that they initially either liked or didn't like for a certain set of reasons that are now shifting into something else. So it's kind of an interesting transition. There's definitely people that are very happy about it, but at the same time, I myself have to look at it and start adjusting my expectations as well. I still do play, I still do compete, but when people start poking fun or even not even talking about my play, that too to me is like, it still challenges my want to compete. And then when I commentate, I'm now having to protect my ego against certain comments like, I don't like him as a commentator. And I'm like, well, what can I do to win you over? But I can't. Sometimes people don't like your style. And as a commentator, it's not as easy as winning or losing a tournament. It's, well, not that that's easy, but I guess as black and white. As a commentator, it's just some people won't like you, and you have to be okay with that. And that's what I'm learning now.
Have you found that there's been people who didn't like iNcontroL the player that are now starting to warm to iNcontroL the personality, the caster?
Well, I think as a personality and a caster, you have more opportunities to put yourself out there. As a player, you stream, and then in my case, you make appearances on shows, and you do some hosting. So people have seen me say things that they really didn't like, and that might have been their only taste of me, so they walked away from that thinking I'm an idiot and they don't like me. And then as a more regular host and commentator that has a little bit more face time, they are still hearing the same dumb stuff, but then they're getting the opportunity to hear me say perhaps more kind and intelligent things, and they say, okay, it looks like he's not so one-dimensional.
Yeah. What about the whole kind of playing thing? I mean, is there actually going to come a point where you are just going to call time on it? And if so, is that going to come soon, or is the need to compete still burning very strong within you?
Well, I think the need to compete will always be there. So if at some point I'm not competing in StarCraft 2, you'll hear about me playing Warhammer 40,000 at a competitive level or powerlifting or something. I have to do something on that level. But specifically to StarCraft 2, for right now, I have tournaments that are available to me because of sponsor competition, I can't actually cast from, namely MLG. So for right now, that's going to be the place that I get to go to. But more importantly than that, I would say, I think by being a Grandmaster level or someone that tries to be on a professional level, I think that aids in everything I do StarCraft 2. I'm able to have information on the people I'm hosting and commentating about. The game itself is something that I'm able to kind of keep pace with. A lot of times, some of these commentators, they lose their ability to be analytical, but even more importantly, let's say they're a play-by-play caster, they're not really looking at the most important battles, and they're not really talking about it as someone that experiences it. And I think that is a hindrance to their ability to entertain and communicate to the audience.
Do you think you'll be able to kind of bring elements of the competitive nature of your personality to casting? For example, I mean, do you have any rivalries at the moment with anyone out there, like some guy you want to be better than?
It's a really good question. I think my goal as I become more and more of a commentator and host is always going to be the absolute best. You do that in competition for StarCraft 2, and you should do it as a host and commentator. Whether or not, actually, a good story for this is like when Huck first became very popular, he said, I want to be the next boxer. And immediately everyone's like, LOL, you're never going to be boxer, you don't have the skill, you don't have the talent. But the way he said it and the way he used it was, you can be mad at me and hate me if you want, but I'm going to try. And then everyone kind of took a step back and went, oh, well, who are we to actually get mad at someone for trying that? And I think that's the same for me. I look at Tastosis, I look at Apollo, I see them as the best, and I say one day I want to overcome them. And they're my best friends, they're some of the people I love the most, but I want to be better than them, and I think that's at the benefit of everyone involved.
Okay. Right, now, as well as I do, perhaps more so, you're a fairly not sensitive guy, but I think you're honest in expressing your emotions. And I recall recently there was a bit of a, not outburst, wrong word, but an incident on Reddit where you were really honest about how upset you were with some of the criticism that had been aimed your way and how harsh it was. Do you regret sometimes, like, being so honest and open about the way things make you feel, or do you think that might give people a little bit of insight into how they need to be responsible about how they talk about their personalities?
You know, there's pros and cons to both. Too Good and I were actually just laughing about this because it's always been known that if you criticize me, if you're mad at me, I will read it, I'll hear about it, and oftentimes I'll respond to it. And that can be me lashing out saying, you're wrong, because that person, you know, might have been whatever. I'm not going to justify it. It's not actually right to lash out at people, but I've done that.
Yeah.
And then there's other times too where I just take it to heart and word it, or I ignore it entirely. But the fact of the matter is, when you are upset at me or criticize me, I'm going to digest that. Whereas with Too Good, we were laughing about this. He could say whatever the hell he wants, because if you're like, I think that was wrong, James, he's going to probably call you an idiot and then laugh at you as well, or just ignore you entirely. And so he's set up in a place where he cares. He definitely digests constructive criticism because it's his life and it's his passion. But he doesn't accept any of the like aggressive attacks, whereas I do. So regret, yes, I do. I think a lot of the times where I call it venting, or like I've teased back, or I've lashed out back. Certainly it's never uninhibited. It's not like I'm random like that. I get a lot of criticism. I get a lot of hate. So I kind of send it back its way. But that's, as a person in the spotlight, you can't do that. I've never once lashed out or vented and been like, that was the right choice. Every time afterwards, I'm like, damn it, I shouldn't have done that. I can't do that. And I think I'm getting better about not doing that. I even most recently did like restrictive measures. I deleted my Reddit account. I was very much
Yeah, well, I saw that.
Yeah, I love reading Reddit. I loved posting in threads that were, you know, constructive and talking with people on that forum. But I realized that at the same time as doing that stuff, I was also getting hate mail and then responding to it. And then that soundbite would be used against me in all the threads I would post. And if I was having a bad day or getting upset, I would take it out on Reddit, and those people remember forever. So I was affecting myself negatively, and I had to change that.
Do you think it's easy to maybe have a poke at you because you actually look like quite a big guy, so the perception is that it's not going to hurt you as much? So is it an image factor?
There's image. That's been my entire life. As a bigger, blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy, it's very easy to look at me and assume things, and a lot of that is either A, I can take it, or B, I'm very privileged. And then the other way here, too, is that there's the dish it kind of thing. I tease a lot. I make a lot of jokes, and I'm very opinionated. So when people consider me as a human being, they see someone that makes a lot of jokes, pokes fun, teases, and at the same time, when something is said, I will take a stand and have an opinion about that. So people look at that as a unexpressed invitation to give it back to me or to do the same. And I think where it becomes very understandable but a little bit different is that I 99% of the time tease and poke fun with people that are my friends that I know very well. When I do criticize, sometimes they're not my friend and sometimes it's too harsh. And at the same time, the people that attack me, or they'll call it criticism, but a lot of times it's worded a lot stronger than any kind of criticism should be. They're not my friends. I don't know who they are, and they outnumber me 1,000 to 1. So it feels very different. But at the same time, much like how Apollo answered in his interview, like, these are the challenges of my job, but I would never be anywhere else. If I was just a school teacher or working a 9-to-5 job, I would have a different set of problems, but I would not have the luxury or the passion. My work wouldn't be attached to my passion like it is now. So they can give me 10 times worse and I'll still be here because this is where I want to be.
Okay. Last question. I think this is an interesting one. It's one I've always wanted to ask you. I never felt comfortable before. I feel comfortable now. Right. Everyone talks about how privileged you are to be an Evil Geniuses, but I actually think being an Evil Geniuses, because of the attention and the way the management is structured, it's actually pretty fucking hard because I don't think I'm giving away any trade secrets here, but for example, at Home Story Cup, there was an incident where it was like you didn't wear a shirt, so you got chewed up about that. I mean, can you shed some light on the relationship with the management and the players and how tough it actually is to kind of conform to all these standards?
Oh, it's amazing. First and foremost, just within their own management structure, the expectation for us is at a higher professional level than any other job within esports. Well, not esports, excuse me, that's too severe, but certainly another professional team. I have to wear these jeans. If these jeans are off, if I'm wearing shorts, or because it's really cold outside, I'm wearing cool hip pants like Apollo's wearing, I actually get fined hundreds of dollars. And it's because there's an expectation on a piece of paper that we sign, and that is that we will look a certain way, we will act a certain way, and we will produce a certain way. And if we stray from that, we're in trouble. So that on the first hand is jarring, because most esports guys, especially StarCraft 2 pro gamers, they're not coming from a established professional world. They're not former athletes. They are young kids that played a game too much, found out they were good at it, and are now being paid for it. So that is really jarring for a lot of them. Moving beyond that, one of the kind of brotherhood initiation things that we have in Evil Geniuses is when we sign somebody, everyone's very happy. There's all the news. Evil Geniuses signs X player. Wow, it's amazing. Yep. But then after that moment, every single loss they have, they're cursed, they're slumping, they're losing. They let the money get to their head. No matter who gets signed for how much money, they're rich, they're greedy. They chose money over passion. Like, the perception of that person changes a lot. And I think that on the one hand, that's a challenge, but that's also very natural. I think that's something where if you're Evil Geniuses and you broadcast, we pay our players well, we expect them to win, and we compete at the highest level, we are the best team. You are saying those things because you're going to get criticized a certain way, but because you expect to be criticized that way. And I always say this, and I really feel like this defines how we go about this. I would rather people criticize us for those things, and I would rather that they keep a close eye on every one of our wins and losses than who gives a shit. Yeah. Evil Geniuses signs X player, okay, I don't really care. That happens daily. You notice, like, when Flash comes out and says, I would like to be with the foreigner team, the thread, EG, up and down. They're not saying Quantic. They're not saying Apocalypse, or that's a player on Quantic. They're not saying Dignitas. They're saying EG. Everyone is. So if we control your attention, if we're the ones that you love or hate, then we're winning.
Well, look, Geoff, it's great to talk to you. Honestly, always illuminating, and I hope people realise that, you know, there is a brain behind that behind that massive exterior, because you are one of the smartest guys for my money, and you're doing great work. So keep it up. Enjoy casting it with Apollo. I hope he doesn't give you what he had.
He's carrying the team. I appreciate it.
But anyway, so all the people out there, Cadred Dog, do stay tuned to the website. We're gonna have more interviews just like this one.